that was us 31 years ago.
Were we ever that young? We were both a little, shall we say, chunky then, just a tad.
Is that why you didn't hit on me there in Robert Mitchum's bed 31 years ago?
Possibly. I was also probably loaded out of my gourd in those days.
As in all of our lives, we've had a lot of ups and downs over the last 30 years.
I'm a songwriter, and I've been fairly successful.
He actually has an Oscar, 3 Grammys, endless Emmy nominations. He's got too many nominations of other things to even mention. He's got the most amazing songbook that he's written. At the moment, he is 72 years old.
72?
He's president of ASCAP, and he has two singles on the #1 album in the world, Random Access Memories by Daft Punk.
Thank you very much. I also have, and I got applause for being 72, but knowing the way I lived. I also have had 3 wives, 2 kids. I did 2 stints in rehab.
We never said we were perfect.
Yeah, she has an impressive 20-year career writing for the stage, screen, television, films. Like she wrote the screenplay for Confessions of a Shopaholic and The Guru. She writes television, books, and a great blogger.
Now, I don't have a mantle crammed with awards like he does, no question, but I do have one award, which is sort of on topic today, and I call it my NAFTA. It's from the National Association for Fat Americans, and I got it for the work I did creating a TV show called Babes, which some people might remember, back in '91, which was the first TV show ever about 3 obese women. But in the meantime, after that, I also had 20 years picking every wrong guy imaginable. I had 2 husbands, I had 2 kids, disaster relationship with my father, all of which sent me probably to Barney's way too many times and to the fridge even more times.
Yeah, as you may have guessed, I am a recovering alcoholic and an addict, which is like saying you're from New York, New York.
And I'm a type A, high-strung Jewish girl who self-soothes by retail therapy, which is saying you're from New York, New York.
Yeah. You might be wondering what a songwriter and a comedy screenwriter are doing speaking at a health and wellness convention. Whisper amongst yourself, what are they doing?
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I wrote Confessions of a Shopaholic. I didn't create gluten-free yoga or anything.
Up all night to eat gluten.
That's right.
Up all night. Well, and one of my better-known lyrics is probably "We've only just begun to live," but the fact is, due to the amount of alcohol and drugs and food that I ingested, by the mid-'80s, I had only just begun to die. It's a fact of life.
So the reason we're actually blessed to be here before all of you today is we are come to share a few of the concepts from the book we're writing together called Gratitude and Trust.
Coming out in the fall.
Can I finish the book?
Oh, the entire time.
Because then they won't buy it on Amazon when it's out.
I talked to the title, totally much screwing up. One more time.
Stepped on my line. Gratitude and Trust, recovery is not just for addicts.
Gratitude and Trust, recovery is not just for addicts. Coming out in the fall of 2014 from Viking Penguin.
So what's this book about? And why are we here other than being the warm-up act for the hysterical A.J. Jacobs?
We love A.J. Jacobs. The gratitude and trust part is pretty self-explanatory. I think it has its origins in the recovery movement, which has filled my heart with gratitude. The recovery movement has worked well for decades dealing with life-threatening conditions.
So we thought, if it has this effect on people who have really, suffered from something that's deadly, the disease of alcoholism, then what would it do for those suffering from life-limiting conditions?
Yes. M. Scott Peck, and Further Along the Road Less Traveled, actually said that the greatest psychological invention, actually he said the greatest invention of the 20th century was the recovery movement, though it's very seldom touched the lives of people outside a specific circle and their family and friends.
But with this book, we're actually taking some of the foundational principles of that movement and we're taking them to all people.
Yeah, and it's not just a matter of tweaking those principles. We've created our own affirmations and the like. We're applying them to life-limiting conditions, of which food...
and the overconsumption of...
exercise...
the underconsumption
the
of...
lack of, and general poor health habits fall into.
Now, looking at us today, you might wonder what we know about losing weight, wellness, and healthy eating.
No, people are going to look at me and go, what a stud muffin.
Between us, we've lost and gained at least 3 John Goodmans.
Yeah. Though our ultimate weight loss didn't really come from dieting alone. They came from a change in lifestyle and attitude. I think we can honestly say that for us, at least, diets per se never worked.
Not diets. I mean,
no.
I did Scarsdale.
I did cocaine.
I did Jenny Craig.
You did Jenny Craig?
Yeah.
I did amphetamine.
I did Atkins 3 times.
I did Atkins as well, but I did it with a lot of vodka on the side, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, any diet where you can have bacon on top of bacon with Russian dressing on top of the bacon, that's the diet for me.
Yeah, any diet where I could have vodka in the shower in the morning works for me. It was what I love, you know.
Okay, how's this? I did pregnant women's urine shots. I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks. I ate 1 tuna fish sandwich, and I gained it all back.
Yeah, yeah. I did amphetamines, and I got a few people pregnant.
I win that one.
Yeah.
But one of the most, you know, for me, because I don't take those kinds of substances, one of the most important things in the recovery movement is the concept of a day at a time. So every time I tell myself, you know, I'm on a specific diet, or I'm never going to eat pasta again, I'm never going to have a piece of cake again, I'm never going to have, you know, something I really love again, it has the same effect as telling me, don't think about pink elephants. You know, they say that, and then all you can think about is pink elephants. So it just goes, all of a sudden I start thinking about, you know, pizza oozing with cheese and like, you know, big basket of sourdough bread and butter and almond croissants in the morning with my coffee.
And working with a writer that describes food like that makes it very difficult for me to stay on the path of yeast resistance, you know.
So, you know, we're not here to talk about food. We're not here to talk about exactly what you eat. That's not our business. There's plenty of really qualified people. But what we're here to talk about is why you eat and when you eat.
Say that again. We're here to talk about
why you eat
and when you eat.
And when you eat.
For our purposes, the least important of these is what you eat. While it has real bearing on your weight and your health, once you nail the other two, the what becomes easier to control. Most of the time, weight is a symptom first, and then it becomes a condition very, very quickly.
So to quote one of the 6 affirmations of personal freedom from our book, what we like to say is, something needs to change, and it's probably me.
Say it again.
Like a little gospel, right? Something needs to change, and it's probably me.
Exactly. Of course, to make that change, one needs to know what needs fixing. The first step on that journey is often to pose the question, why am I unhappy? What void am I filling with food? I think for most people, there's a dark place in our past where a seed of unhappiness took root. It's not a flower, it's a weed. It doesn't need light, it doesn't need water, it doesn't need attention. In fact, being ignored is probably what allows this thing to really thrive. The problem with that is that the list of headwaters of unhappiness is endless. And the problem with them is if we leave them unchecked, if we don't look at what's making us so totally unhappy, then we end up being this weird dark hole of emotion that can end up driving the bus of our emotional life.
And they drive that bus right through your kitchen or to the nearby fast food restaurant for a lot of sugar-loaded love and empty calories. It's not an easy first step because we are owning our participation in our present condition. You know, what we're doing is we're taking responsibility for where we can fix it. And we're admitting this huge thing that is so hard for any of us to address. There are no quick fixes.
No.
You know, just giving up the sugar, the bread, the flour, whatever, it's not going to change our overall relationship to food and exercise. And a big thing that we like to say is the road to poor health is paved with big exceptions.
Big exceptions, an important word, accept and accept. They are words that sound very much alike. They have a different spelling and a huge difference in the meaning. It's life-changing when you use the right one. We spend too much time saying, I would accept, instead of saying, I accept, and then doing what we can to change our lives. I need to lose 25 pounds, except I don't have the time, except I hate to exercise, except I don't want to go to the gym, except it's easier to order a pizza than cook, except. We accept ourselves right into the grave. It's where I was headed with my weight. It's time to switch from accept to accept.
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 Accept. A-C-C-E-P-T. Accept the fact the extra weight is a direct result of your inactivity and overeating. Sedentary seldom leads to slim.
Say that again.
Sedentary seldom leads to slim. We're going to run out of time. You can't
keep
it.
I don't care if it's a bumper sticker. Sedentary seldom leads to slim.
Music
I love
off
it.
the stage. Accept the fact that carrying the extra weight leads to everything, as we just heard, from diabetes, heart disease, cancer. Accept the fact you could be cutting your life short by not accepting responsibility for your own behavior.
What we're not accepting with all these exceptions is the real issues that we're avoiding. Most of us have a big hole we're attempting to fill with something, and we're not talking about your mouth or your stomach. Many people turn, I turned to mind-numbing drugs. I was major into anything that would block the feelings. Some people rely on food. I did to fill the void. Shopping, anger, self-destructive choices, or total inertia, sloth. I have a black belt in sloth. The list of responsibilities is as long as the list of assaults to the soul.
I mean, while I didn't do drugs or alcohol, I was actually one of the only people who believed reefer madness, like total gateway drug, stayed away. But
Reefer madness.
I did. But I had a giant vat of loneliness that I constantly tried to stuff with food and clothes and boys, and then I had more food, so I needed more bigger clothes, and then more boys. And it wasn't until I took a long, hard look at who I was, and I found the source of my own unhappiness and what I was lacking in the other areas of my life, that I was able to get a handle on my own eating. You know, I had lack of self-esteem. I had a lot of lack of love from my father. I had a feeling like I didn't belong. And so, like many of us, I really believe this: I self-soothe with food.
Yeah. And I believe I have a God-shaped hole in the center of my chest. You know, it's like I get very Jiminy Cricket about this deal. But I tried to fill it with 1,000 different ways, with drugs, with alcohol, with sex, with relationships, with fast cars, slow girls that I could catch, food, more food, fast food, more drugs. But it's a neediness that had to be identified before I could go forward. It's a need that has to be fed from within, not from the fridge and not from the minibar. I love the minibar, you know. Perhaps we'd all have a better chance of experiencing life's tastier moments if we stop before we act and we ask ourselves one big question: do I really want this, or do I need to do what I'm doing? And this is the big question: what am I feeling? What's behind the hunger? When we work at identifying the real issues and we isolate the source of our painful need, we have a better chance of repairing the initial wound, and not creating more problems with a destructive Band-Aid.
It's in the continuing investigation of why we eat, we suggest looking at the same time as when you eat. There's great information if you examine when you eat and when you binge.
Yeah.
You'd walk where? What would you do?
You know what? For me, I'd walk off the stage after a successful show. Thank you for the little nudge. You know, it's like, yeah, I've got to listening to you. I've had such a good time. I went, oh yeah, I should be talking. But I'd walk off the stage after I was, you know, a concert where I'm singing my songs and people are lavishing all that love on me and that emotion, and it's like, wow, Mr. Big Shot. I'd walk into an empty hotel room, and all of a sudden I'm alone, and I'm in trouble. When I'm alone, I'm in trouble, and I'm looking for something to fix these feelings of abandonment. I have abandonment issues. When I'm all alone in a hotel room and I look at an empty bed, I abandon the idea of eating sensibly. I just, you know, find something to fix this.
The deep longing for too much of anything probably springs to life out of fear or loss. So if you're thinking, I need to lose 20 pounds, but I'm not afraid of anything, we're not going to argue with you, but we'd ask you to try something. You should sit down to order the chocolate sundae or the burger or whatever it is you really shouldn't be eating. Ask yourself instead, what are you feeling right before you order that? What are you feeling with that empty food? I mean, I like to say, you know, it's those dateless Friday nights that have so many of us hooking up with both Ben and Jerry. When I was fat, I would eat at the end of the day. That was my big eat time. I would come into an empty apartment, and I knew I'd faced another night alone, and I pretty much said, is this the way I'm going to spend the rest of my life? And before you knew it, there was like a demolished camembert and an empty box of crackers, and my stomach was totally full, but my heart was still empty. You know, the food doesn't do it.
Clearly recovering from a food addiction has problems not faced by an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I can abstain from alcohol. I can quit using cocaine, and I did that. But abstinence from food is not going to happen. That's going to lead to death. You have to eat. So while the path is narrow and steep, the rewards of a newfound discipline for me have been truly life-saving as well as enhancing. My life is better today.
And any successful business must maintain an accurate inventory of their activities. What's coming in, what's going out.
Yeah.
So to manage your health properly, we would like to, you need that same information. So the idea of a food journal, right, not a new one, we've all heard about it. But recording what you consume on a daily basis really can help you in your relationship to food.
What we wanted to suggest is that you add something equally as helpful and maybe even more revealing, and it's the Mood to Food Journal. The Mood to Food Journal, a bumper sticker. For 1 month, try recording your emotional state, what you're feeling, what's going on in your life before you make specific food choices, be they good or bad.
But if you can, dig really deep, okay? Observe the moment-to-moment occurrences around you when you make those choices, because that's going to put a highlight on your vulnerabilities as to why you're eating certain things. I'm going to give you an example. You're having lunch with a girlfriend, you're in a totally good mood, you make all the right choices, you order the grilled fish, a salad, dressing on the side, you know the drill, right? And then she starts regaling you with all these stories about her hot weekend in Cancun with her new boyfriend, and she hasn't even gotten to day 3, and you've demolished the breadbasket, you've ordered dessert, you've eaten all her fries, and what started as the right course ended up with a 4-course meal.
I actually wish you'd tell more about that weekend.
Yeah, but I know it wasn't my weekend. That's why I ate all the food, right?
Or another example is, your wife packs you a healthy, portion-controlled lunch, and during a morning meeting, you find out that some guy that they just hired got the job that you knew you were perfect for. So that quick, you just say goodbye to the healthy sandwich with the 7-grain bread, and you find yourself driving through the Golden Arches yelling, "Supersize me! Supersize me!"
The examples are endless, personal, and they change from moment to moment. The other thing the Mood to Food journaling does is it reveals not necessarily just the maladaptive behaviors and relationship we have to food, but it just points out poor daily eating habits.
Yeah. And I think for those who are no longer overweight, but habitually eat foods that are just plain bad for you, it's important to see when you eat those foods. Do you eat ice cream before going to bed? Do you do it daily? Is there a connection between the full stomach and an empty bed? I keep going back to that, a full stomach and an empty bed.
Or, okay, do you grab a chocolate donut on the way to work? Are you nervous about work? Or were you once nervous about work and this is some kind of holdover? Because a lot of our behaviors are carryover behaviors from other times in our lives. And that's where a lot of our really bad habits come from.
Yeah, the process of tracking present behavior is crucial. Linking it to when it started and what you were feeling at the time provides invaluable information that allows us to stop. It allows us to stop ourselves in the present from repeating the past. This is why people do therapy. I mean, it makes sense. You connect the dots to the bad behavior.
This is a giant step in something needs to change, and it's probably me. To reiterate our main point, understanding why you eat and when you eat are the keys to controlling what you eat.
This is a tiny segment of a chapter in a book that we're writing. We can't squeeze everything into a 20-minute talk.
It's already gone over.
But we don't want to leave the stage without at least addressing the idea of daily exercise.
So when we Googled why people don't,
why they don't go,
the 3 things came up. The first one was why they don't go to the moon, kind of evident. Why they don't go to church, and the third one was why they don't go to the gym.
The fourth was the Marlins games, but
why they don't go to the Marlins games is fourth, but who knows? But what it proves to us is that going to the gym or not going to the gym is a national dilemma. And it becomes, in accept, probably one of the major things we deal with.
Yeah, it's got to be a habit. It has to be daily. It can be varied, but it's got to be a part of your life. You just have to start. You have to, and like I am I an athlete? No, I'm not. But it's something that you have to do, whether it's free weights and an exercise video at home or what the hell is We Fit?
I'll tell you later.
We Fit.
I mean, remember these 3 components, okay? And I think it's essential. It has to be something you like. You have to like doing it. So just because everyone's jumping on a Soul Cycle doesn't mean that that's the right thing for you. So my big advice is always do not do anything necessarily exercise that has the word trending, hashtag afterward, exercise hashtag trending, because you're not going to do it unless you love it. The other thing is it's got to be geographically convenient to either where you work or you live. If you can't get there, you're going to find 551 excuses why you don't go there. And that's it. And it's got to be habitual. It has to be as habitual as brushing your teeth.
I run every day. I look like a bobble-headed doll when I run. I run faster up and down than I run forward, but I run every day. It's, and it's the most spectacular way to start my day. It's a meditation. There's a place at about a mile when I begin to sweat, and I can feel my metabolism change. It's an amazing moment when you can feel that click in, and I know all of a sudden my fuel tank is burning food at a higher rate, and I have in the last 9 months lost 30 pounds, and I've kept them off. When you're 5'2", that's like losing a jockey. What can I tell you?
One of the main reasons, obviously, people don't work out, and Jeff and I were just talking about this backstage, and he'll attest this, is embarrassment.
Yeah.
You know, when you're really heavy, or you feel you're really heavy, you don't want to go to the gym. And you feel that people are going to laugh at you. And as hard as it is, somewhere deep inside you, you just have to swallow that fear, and you just got to go, you know what, I don't care what other people think of me. I don't care if someone's over there thinking, what's that tubbo doing on the treadmill? Because you know what? If you just keep doing it, you will make progress, and you'll be proud of it. And then within 6 or 7 months, you're going to be able to walk in there with pride, and you're never going to remember what it felt like to be that other person.
Yeah, that's an amazing feeling. At my heaviest, I weighed 187 pounds.
So did I.
That's almost 60 pounds more than I weigh today. I looked like one of those inflatable dolls you push over and it comes back up, you know, only with really bad breath because I hadn't slept in days. I was up at night eating. My inflated body and my bruised ego dictated the decision to boycott the health club. I didn't want to go to the health club. Felt like a stranger in a strange land running. This little tiny guy with his big buff guys. I was confused by the machines. I was lifting less weight than most of the girls were. I hated it. The big change for me was at a point when I accepted the fact that what I really hated was myself. I hated that I'd let myself get that way, and that had to change. I had to start.
So, you know, we probably just sound like the same people telling you the same thing, you know, version of the same thing. You know, cut out eating everything you love and that makes you happy, exercise, and stop making excuses. But the truth is, if the coconut cake, you know, were a superfood and you could take a pill that would be the same as running 4 miles, none of us would probably even need this, you know, in convention. But in anything you do in life, you need a certain discipline. The meta message of what we're trying to say here is, don't think of it like the food that makes me happy that I can no longer eat. Because then that will just totally trip you up. What you've got to think of is overeating unhealthy food will ultimately make me really unhappy. It's a momentary soothe and distraction. It's not going to make you happy. It's just going to keep you from everything you want.
And I think the key is figuring out where in your life you are unhappy and watching how that draws you to food. Finding those emotions, when they click in, how they take you to the refrigerator. The added component of why you eat offers an understanding of self that may solve a lifelong mystery. It has for me.
You know, we all just want to be happy. We all want to feel really good about ourselves, and understanding why we do the things we do allows us to make our psyche our ally and not our foe.
In the world of recovery, there is a strong spiritual component that makes one day at a time totally doable for me. It's one of the affirmations from Gratitude and Trust. Recovery is not just for addicts. Is I don't know how to do this, but something inside me does. I'll say it again. I don't know how to do this, but something inside me does. I draw great comfort from the presence of an invisible ally that I call the Big Amigo, and it's a personal choice that keeps me shiny side up and trusting in my future.
And that's half the battle. Add a healthy dose of grateful, add a healthy dose of health, and you're well on your way to the life that we hope that you're going to live.
Yeah. Live long and be joyous. In gratitude and trust. They said it together. Gratitude and trust. God bless. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.